Hello everyone, welcome back to Zenchers Academy. Here I'll be guiding you through the most important part of Sainik School Entrance Examination, that is General Studies. Okay. Why it is considered so important? Because most of the important questions and the selections happens because of this. So many people have good command of general studies, hence they are able to answer so many questions, correct? So currently we are studying history, and in this series I'll be teaching you all the most asked, we can say, or most important part of history, that is Vedic culture. Why it is important? Because this is something which built the foundation of our Indian civilization. It built the foundation for so many social systems, political institutions, we can say. So it becomes important automatically, correct? So our today's class will be on Vedic Age. Now, what do you mean by Vedic? Any idea? See, Vedic term comes from the word Ved. So many of you must be aware of the Vedas. Ved are sacred text. Okay, so the term Vedic comes from Vedas, which means knowledge, correct? Now, why only Vedic? Why not something else? It is because about this period, most of the information comes from our Vedas. So, our Ved became important. Simultaneously, this period became important. Why? Because this laid the foundation of our very own society, civilized society, we can say. Okay. We understood the meaning of Vedic. It comes from Vedas, that means knowledge. Now, if we talk about the importance of its time period. So its time period extends from 1500 BC to 600 BC, correct? And this time period is after the most important civilization, that is Indus Valley civilization. So we can say Vedic age followed the Indus Valley civilization, but there was no similarities between both the civilizations. They are poles apart. Okay. Now, we have already talked about the meaning. We have talked about also known as Sapt Sindhu region. Now, what do you mean by Sapt Sindhu region? Sapt means 7, Sindhu means river. So, what we can say is they used to live in the land of 7 rivers. Now, can you name the 7 rivers? If you can comment down. Okay, I'm going to tell you the name. No worries. But your work is to go and search the original names of these rivers. Okay, make a list of these important, sacred, holy rivers, whatever you want to call. Okay, so first one we have Indus River. Then we have Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, Satluj and Saraswati. Hope you understood this much, that Aryans were the people who migrated from Central Asia to Indian subcontinent. Now, who they actually were? Kaun the wo? They were the Indo-European semi-nomadic kind of people. Semi-nomadic means who keeps on changing their places. Okay? They were pastoralists. Okay, that means their livelihood depended upon cattle. Okay? So initially, Aryans were the people, Indo-European people who used to speak which language? An Indo-European language, which later became Sanskrit. And they wrote these sacred 4 texts, are Vedas. Okay? So Aryans were the Indo-European people. Indo-European. Okay. Now, when they came, they started deciding who were Aryans, what was the time period of Vedic age. It is divided into two phases. Okay. Rig Ved and later Vedic period. Okay. For Rig Ved, we have the time period of 1500 to 1000 BC, and for later Vedic period, we have 1000 to 600 BC. All right. Your work is to find out the original name of the rivers. Got it? Now we will move on to the social life of Vedic people. See, Vedic society. What do we have in a society? When we talk about society, we do social studies, we read social studies. Why do we read it? Because we want to know about our social circle, our society. And in how many parts we can study our society? We already do, right? Through history, political science, through economics. We do study our surrounding, our society, through geography. Correct. So here also we are going to study Vedic society on the basis of political, social, religious and economic life of these people. One side we will study about the early Vedic period and other side we will study about the later Vedic period. So we will do a comparative study. Okay. Shall we continue? Okay. See. Early and later. As I told you people that Aryans were the one who migrated. They were Indo-European, they were pastoralist and very kind of semi-nomadic people. So that means they also were not aware of so many things. They believed in simple living. All right. So when we talk about early Vedic society, and under this, if we move on to the political arena, political zone or political life of these people, उससे हमें क्या समझ आता है? What we will get from it? See, under political life, we are going to study how was the society or how was the surrounding. Surrounding was mostly based upon tribal system. ठीक है? Society was tribal. Society was tribal. That means they used to live together in a tribe. ठीक है? There are so many famous tribes which belong to this period. Okay, we will move forward to that later. But first, just think about it. Society was tribal. Now, if you may ask, who was the head then? If they were living in a tribe, who was the head? See, these tribal people chose their own head, whom they called chief. Okay, so means that head, that chief was the elected one, similar to our idea of democracy, correct? People chose their own head called Rajan. All right. Now Rajan, his work was to what? Not to rule only, but to protect. His primary duty, his primary work was to what? To protect his surrounding, to protect his people, to protect the kettles. Chief work was to protect. ठीक है? There was no rigid idea of ruling. Understood? So, in political life, we got to know about the society was tribal. ठीक है? They used to live in a tribe. Then, tribal people used to choose their king. Understood? We have important tribes such as we have Yadu, Turvasa, we have Purus, we have Bharata. Okay, like this we have so many tribes. Now, if we talk about institutions, see, we have so many institutions nowadays also. At that time, we had three important institutions or assemblies we can say. ठीक है? These institutions, political institutions were सभा, समिति एंड विद्वता. ठीक है? सभा, समिति and Vidyata. There they used to take important decisions, they used to advise king, and all the people across their tribe used to participate in these kinds of assemblies. So that means people also hold power at that time. Women were free to pursue whatever they want to pursue. They were also the part of these assemblies. Correct? So initially it was very flexible and equality based society. Understood? Now we move to later Vedic period and its political system. See, society was tribal initially, but later on, from tribe to clan to jan, it became janpads, kingdom. Okay. First, we only had tribes. Correct. We have a family known as kul. Then we have village known as gram. Then we have clan, vish. Then tribe, jan. But from jan, that means tribes, in later Vedic period it became janpad. That means the whole kingdom. So when we talk about kingdom, who will rule the kingdom? Obviously king. So now here also we have the king, but his power was not to protect only but to rule. Now he possessed more power. He has that dominance over people. Okay. So we can say that here the proper king rule established. And whatever assemblies we had initially were dismissed, were disappeared suddenly, and women had no power to attend those assemblies again, because obviously there was no assemblies. People are not free to give advice to king now, and women, they were not supposed to say anything to anyone, especially elders and king in front of the king. All right. So this was a major difference we can see. First, there was no kingdom, right? Only tribes, and people used to live in a tribe. King was also from that tribe only, and his work was to protect. Protect whom? The tribal people and his wealth, that is cattle. Understood? Then we have social life. What do you think? How was the social life of whom? Early Vedic people. See, there was equality. Clearly there was equality. Okay. Equality there, equality was there. Freedom was there. And what else? It was flexible society. Flexible means people were free to do anything. Anything means they can do any work. They can raise their concerns. They can give advice to the king. Correct? But do you think the same happened in the later Vedic period? No, it didn't happen that way. Okay? So first point is this: flexibility and rigidity. All right? Earlier, the society was flexible, but later on it became very complex and rigid. If we talk about families, people used to live in a joint family, which later on also continued. All right? Joint family. And later on, same happened. Joint family continued. See, we had the king here, but he used to be the chosen one. But later on, the king became what? Hierarchical. ठीक है? तो वहाँ पर they don't had any power to choose the king, to choose a supreme person. Vedic society के ये सारे points, because there was a drastic nature worship, there was no idol form of worship. ठीक है? Performing sacrifices. ठीक है? Ritualistic. What happened later is, see, under economic life, we are well aware of Aryans who migrated They were semi-nomadic people, pastoral. Why do we call them pastoralist? Because of the simple reason, beta, that their whole livelihood depended upon cattle rearing. So cattle become their only sole reason, sole way of wealth. Okay? So we can say cow is equal to wealth. Okay? And we are not saying it for the sake of saying it, but it's true that they went on wars because of cows. So you can imagine how important cows, cattle were at that time. Only cow and the number of cows would decide who is the wealthiest person of the tribe. Also, they used to do one thing known as gavishti. That means search for cows. Search for cows. So they used to search cows, they go on a war for cows. These things happened. King used to lead that war. Okay. So their economic life based upon what? Pastoralism, we can say. Okay? So they were completely pastoralist. But later on they became agriculturalist. And that is why, beta, they shifted their place, their residence from Sapta Sindhu region, that is land of seven region, to rivers, seven rivers, to which place? Gangetic plains. All right. Because see, for agriculture you required the suitable soil. Okay? You required the water supply, proper water supply. So what they did, after they got to know about the benefits of farming, benefits of agriculture, so they thought of shifting to Gangetic plains. Okay, so they shifted to Gangetic plains. And became agriculturalist. So that doesn't mean that वो cattle rearing नहीं कर रहे थे. They were still doing that work, but now the dominant sector was agriculture. All right. So economic life shifted. See, initially there was no instance or evidence or any statement that says that they were using iron. We don't know about it. But later on we got to know about the use of iron through weapons. Because kingdoms were there, kings used to go on a war. So what they used? They used iron weapons, okay? So use of iron in the later Vedic period. All right. So firstly pastoralists, then agriculturalists. Hope you understood till here that their economic life also shifted. Initially they were just the cattle rearers, but later on become farmers too. Wheat, barley was the major crops they used to show. Okay? So I hope you understood the social life, political life, religious life and economic life. They later on they became well aware of crafts also. Initially they were not very known of it. Trade also increased. Okay? Trade increased. Okay? They were well aware of crafts now. So development also took place, which we can study in economic life, under economic life. But what happened in other sectors, we can see people lacked the power. Religious system became very, what we can say, very rigid, very ritualistic centric. And not everybody had enough money to perform those sacrifices, those rituals, correct? So we can say that Vedic society drastically changed, but only positive signs, where we can see the positive signs in the economic era. Economic zone. All right. Economic life ke under we can see that okay, some development took place. But before that, things changed. But did it change in the what? लोगों के benefits के अंदर को change हुआ था? नहीं. I don't think that. See, if we talk about social life, पहले they were so free to do anything. ठीक है, प्रोफेशंस के थ्रू दे what they made Varna system, but later on it became birth based. Why so? People do feel a bit hesitant about it. Okay, same goes for the religious life. When Brahmins became superior, people there also felt helpless. Okay, that is why later on so many Hindu social reforms, or we can say so many movements related to religion came. Correct? So that's all for today. I hope you understood everything, the social life of the people of in the Vedic age, and the time period of Vedic age, why it is known as Vedic age, why not something else. It is clearly because everything and most of the information that we got from Vedas, we got from about Vedic society is from Vedas. Correct? We have 4 major Veds. We will continue that in our next class. Also, we will study thoroughly about Varna system. Okay. So these 2 things we will cover in our next class. Till here, I hope you understood everything, the society and the intro of Vedic age. Hope to see you soon. Till then, take care and just go through the original names of those rivers. All right? Okay.